The Minnesota Twins offense continues to be the biggest issue and why it's not getting fixed anytime soon in our Stock Up, Stock Down report.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Twins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Hey, thank you for making it the #1 sports podcast network. I'm CJ Baumgartner, Twins writer for Zone Coverage and a lifelong Twins fan. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Today, we break down the Twins losing the rubber match and the series in Target Field on their home opener against Tampa Bay. We also take a look at Byron Buxton's decade-long career in Twins territory and how the Twins shouldn't be getting rid of him anytime soon. We also look at the meteoric rise over the last month of Kaelen Culpepper and why he needs to be with the team by May. All right, well, as we take a look at all of that, we first start off the show by talking about our Stock Up, Stock Down report. So let's take a look here at our stock ups first. Let's start with some positives before we jump into the Twins offense wholesale. Let's look at the one member of the Twins offense who seems to be their best hitter this year, and it's their platoon backup shortstop, Tristan Gray. Is he the best Twins shortstop to wear number 4 in franchise history? I don't know. People have been saying it. He's got a .286 batting average, a .924 OPS, 1 home run, 8 RBIs. And if you want to look at Tristan Gray's big grand slam on Friday, and then you also look at his bases clearing double last Sunday in Baltimore, that's like what? Combined with another RBI he got later, he has all 8 of his RBIs that have came with the bases loaded. Compare that to Carlos Correa. In all of 2025, Carlos Correa had just 2 runs batted in with the bases loaded. Now, I don't mean to pick on Correa because I think that gets a little overplayed. But that being said, I think for the price you're paying for Tristan Gray, you're getting a lot more value out of a shortstop that wears the number 4. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, the thing about Tristan Gray is he's slowly going to get himself more playing time because Brooks Lee has struggled this year. Royce Lewis has struggled, not as much to the extent as Brooks had, but neither of them are having great starts to the season. And you'll see Tristan Gray just slowly sneak his way into the lineup a little bit more and more. Not that he's going to overtake Brooks Lee as starter, especially at this current point. But you could see a world where Tristan Gray steals a ton of at-bats and a ton of playing time from those two guys combined because he's hitting right now. And if you're Derek Shelton, you have to give it to the hot hand. So Tristan Gray is our biggest kind of stock buyer. If you're going to be buying stock in anybody, buy it in Tristan Gray because he's been hitting well, and the Twins offense is just in need of guys that are hitting well. You're going to see his name etched into the lineup more than I think you would have a week ago at this time. Let's take a look at our another stock up report, which is Taj Bradley. So he wasn't as dominant in Kansas City as he was in Baltimore if you look at strikeout numbers and things like that. But if you look at effectiveness, Taj Bradley was much more effective. 6 innings, ends up having no earned runs, gives up a few hits here and there, only 1 strikeout, which I think, again, it's not like when he played Baltimore and he had 9 strikeouts and 4 1/3 innings. But that being said, Taj Bradley has put together in a couple starts a really good resume so far. And as we talked about on last week's show, so I don't want to re-divulge into this take, go watch last week's episode on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. He changes the outlook of this rotation being very high up in the order, being a guy who could be not an ace, but a top of the rotation starter versus like a 3 or 4 starter. That really changes how the Twins' outlook goes for the rest of the season and possibly into the next few years. So go back and watch Friday's show. I talk about that a lot more. But that being said, with Taj Bradley, he has been able to get outs. He's been able to get a lot of strikeouts, a good amount of strikeouts, I should say, with 10 throughout his first 2 starts. But the thing is he's not getting, for a guy who throws the ball, an average of 97.3 miles an hour. He has an average exit velocity of 95.9 miles an hour, which is a lot. That's pretty high on your average exit velo. It's in the 4th percentile. So he needs to do a better job of getting some soft contact. He also needs to do a better job of the walks. The walk rate, 9.3%. His strikeout rate, 27.9%, is good, and that's a good spot to be in. But that being said, he only has 28% chase rate and a 26% whiff rate. So Bradley's going to need to work on creating some more swings and misses to sustain his good start. But that being said, you're not going to argue with results, especially with the way the Twins have been going. And with the way that that fastball is working for Bradley, it just can build so much more from there. And he still is working on that new approach the Twins have given him and the new pitch mix and things like that. So give him time to grow in this. But obviously, Taj Bradley was our stock riser last week. We keep talking about him because he's one of the lone bright spots for the Minnesota Twins this season. So let's flip it over to our stock down report. And let's go to the other guy who I thought was going to be the breakout candidate for the Twins, at least through the first couple parts of the season, through the first couple turns through the rotation. Hasn't necessarily been that way. Mick Abel. The talent is there. You can see it, and you could see it from last year. But the problem, like last year, is that he hasn't found a way to put that talent together. If you're Mick Abel, through 2 starts, he hasn't, 2 appearances. He had that piggyback appearance with Bailey Ober last week in Baltimore. He has an ERA of 11 through 7 1/3 innings pitched, but does have 7 strikeouts. The problem is a lot of base runners. His walks and hits per innings pitched is 2.86. And basically what your whip shows is just how many base runners you're letting get on. If you allow a lot of base runners, you're just going to give up more runs because you have people in scoring position in a lot more than not, more often than not. So with Mick Abel, again, somebody who throws the fastball at a decent rate, 94.7 miles per hour, not necessarily humming it in there, but certainly right there in the smack dab kind of league average territory. And he's done a good job of creating soft contact. So this is kind of the inverse. Do you look at the underlying numbers, the results to try and project forward? Mick Abel's average exit velocity is 84.1 miles an hour, which is in the 87th percentile, which is good. 32.2% chase rate, 26.8% whiff rate. Again, those aren't great, but they're not awful. The problem, like Bradley, is he hasn't been able to turn that into strikeouts. His 16.7% strikeout rate is in the 22nd percentile, and he has an identical walk rate, 16.7%, which is in the 16th percentile. So again, Mick Abel has been somebody who has the stuff. He has the potential to draw soft contact, to get strikeouts, but if you can't control it, and you're either allowing runners on base or with walking them, or you're just in bad hitters counts, that's not necessarily going to work out well for you. So Mick Abel is another stock down this week for the Twins. Now let's wrap things up. And again, I want to be fair. Mick Abel, cold weather start on Friday, had to piggyback in his first appearance of the year. I'm not saying I'm out on Mick Abel, but just certainly the stock has definitely cooled off compared to how it felt throughout the course of spring training. And it's why we don't always look at spring training stats as gospel, and we should never look at them as gospel. They are just exhibition stats. So looking at the Twins offense is our other stock down report. 10 runs for the Minnesota Twins on Friday, followed by 2 runs combined the rest of the series. It's the 4th time in 9 games the Twins have been held to 1 run. They have a 629 team OPS and a 192 team batting average. Their 27.1% strikeout rate is 6th worst in baseball. 88.2 miles per hour average exit velocity is 25th. 84 weighted runs created plus is 24th in baseball. 114 at-bats with runners in scoring position is 28th, or I should say with runners on base. So they've had 114 at-bats with runners on base. That's 3rd worst in baseball. Their 139 plate appearances with runners on base is 22nd. Now the Twins with runners on base, their batting average 202, which is 28th in baseball. 9 home runs as a team is tied for Cleveland for 14th in baseball. So this isn't even like and that is just generally, but again, if I'm not even saying runners in scoring position, how about just a runner on first base? How do you do when you get ducks on the pond? How are you handling this? And the answer is not very well. The Twins have a tough time getting runners on base, and then when you have a chance to get them there, you can't string them along, and you can't find ways to get runners home. And it's not even we'll just knock them in through the home run. Well, you're 14th in baseball, which is middle of the pack, and you're tied with Cleveland, a team that isn't necessarily known for being a huge power team. And this is the problem with the Minnesota Twins. The biggest way it turns around is Byron Buxton and Luke Keyshaw, who are off to slow starts. And again, Luke Keyshaw had a great spring training, which is why you don't look at those numbers to project the regular season. But Byron Buxton and Luke Keyshaw have both had struggles to the season. If those guys get going, obviously it turns around the Twins offense. But where is the help coming from? Where outside of those two guys are you getting help from? Because there has been struggles across the board outside of Tristan Gray, who's been your best hitter. And if you're a platoon shortstop, your backup shortstop, who's a quad A player coming into this season, is your best hitter through the first 2 weeks, yeah, there's a reason why you're 3-6 and have lost every series you've played in. So for the Twins, finding a way to get that next offensive push, I just don't know where it comes from. Outside of the prospects in Kaelen Culpepper, Walker Jenkins, Emmanuel Rodriguez, Alan Roden, who, by the way, all four have been mashing in AAA to start the year, or at least you see highlights of them coming left and right compared to what highlights for the Minnesota Twins. So it's not getting better anytime soon because the Twins are not going to be calling up those prospects for at least another month. You're not going to push that button just yet. And that means we're going to have to wallow in whatever the heck this Twins offense is for the next couple weeks, which is just awesome. Great. Hence the heavy sarcasm there. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Byron Buxton and how the Twins should never trade that man as the Twins celebrate his 10th year of MLB service time. We're going to talk about that and Kaelen Culpepper's rise after this. The MLB season is back, and you can feel it. Fresh starts, big expectations, that first crack of the bat. Even though it was cold at Target Field on Friday, hey, it was still great to see them back in Twins baseball in Minnesota. And whether it's a breakout rookie, a division race that goes down to the wire, there's nothing like being at the ballpark for it. The only problem, getting tickets can feel like a grind. You have long queues, surprise fees, and the price that jumps at checkout. Like, what the heck? And that's where there's Game Time. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. That's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. And it's simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. That means what you see is what you pay, period. And the seats views feature, huge, because I can see the panoramic view from my exact seat before I buy. Zone Deals lets me pick the section and save even more while Game Time selects the seat. And remember, you can follow the Twins and get alerts as new deals drop. Those ticket prices at Target Field, they're not going to be super spendy this year. So if you want to go catch a bunch of ball games on the cheap, Game Time can help make that happen. 2 taps and it's done. No stress, no hidden fees, just great seats in minutes. It's what makes it so easy to decide last minute to hit up a game. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Baseball is finally back, and to celebrate, I'm giving you, yes, you, a full month of the Everydayer Club for free. Go to lockedontwins.supercast.com and use code FINALLY. You'll unlock every episode ad-free and get access to our private listener group chat. Tap the link in the show notes and use code FINALLY, FINALLY, to claim your free month. Come join us. It's a fun time over at the Everydayer Club. All right, so Byron Buxton got honored for 10 years of Major League service time on Sunday, and the Twins should never trade him. That's where we start off with. But first, 10 years of service time for Byron Buxton. They started playing clips of, he was on the cart in the old Globe Life Park in Arlington, where Buxton made his MLB debut in the summer of 2015. And my goodness, do I feel old? Does that make me feel old to see young Byron Buxton, to see just kind of the, for lack of a better term, the baby face, to see him like from then to now become like a grown man, because obviously he made his call up when he was very early. He's 32-ish, 31-ish right now, made that MLB debut 10 years ago 11 years ago now, almost, in 2015. So he's a guy who has played a ton of Major League Baseball in the 10 years, and just to see that change is kind of astounding, and makes me feel really, really old, because I was going to be a senior in high school the year that Byron Buxton was called up, and it makes me feel really old because, hey, my 10-year reunion is this summer, and that just, I don't know how to feel about that. So I continue to watch Twins baseball and forget about the aging of life or something. So Byron Buxton is one of 3 Twins expected to reach 10 years of MLB service time. Taylor Rogers, Josh Bell, also both expected to hit that threshold. And look, Byron Buxton's start to the season has been rough. A lot of swings and misses, not getting on base. Outside of the triple on opening day, there just hasn't been any extra base hits for Byron Buxton. So the start hasn't been where he's wanted it to be. But that being said, you cannot trade Byron Buxton ever, unless he wants out, in which case, okay, your hands are tied. But Byron Buxton continues to reiterate that he is a Twin for life. Outside of some reporting last offseason that said if the Twins continue their sell-off, Buxton might ask out, which again, wasn't Buxton ever officially saying that. And maybe it was, again, a back channel way. Was it Buxton? Was it his agent? Was it the team? Was it somebody else? We don't know. But on the record, Byron Buxton has maintained he wants to be a Minnesota Twin for life, regardless of the circumstances. And why would you trade somebody like that? Why would you trade somebody who, in this mess, wants to still play for your team? From a fan standpoint, we talk about all the time, you want guys who are loyal to Minnesota. You want guys who are loyal and want to stay and want to do all this. Byron Buxton has. And yes, he's been hurt. And there's been years where he hasn't been as productive. All of that before you jump in the comments saying Buxton's too hurt, trade him, get any value while you can. What value are you getting that hasn't been better than Byron Buxton? Who are you trading for that is going to be productive? Because if you trade a guy like Buxton, you are not, again, the injury issues are a concern. It's not like you're going to get you're not going to get the top prospect in all of baseball. That's not how these trades work. And the player you get, what's the likelihood that they're going to be better than a team-controlled, cheap center fielder who's one of the best at his position defensively and also has the speed to still create havoc on the bases? Yes, the hitting is streaky. Byron Buxton has always been a streaky player. Once he heats up, the numbers will even themselves out. I'm not here to tell you Byron Buxton's the best Twin of all time, but certainly he's the best Twin on this roster, and you have to continue to keep him just from outside of a fan standpoint of that's a guy who wants to be with the team. He's been with the team forever. He's maintained he wants to be a Twin for life. You have to admire that. But also from a business standpoint, he's cheap. I mean, he makes 10 to 15 million a year, halfway through a 10-year contract where he has a no trade clause. This is a guy who wants to be with your team. You can market that to guys. He's also been a constant. There's a ton of Byron Buxton jerseys wandering around Target Field. You need to keep a guy like that on your team, especially when you're going through a rebuild like this, or retooling, or I know the Twins say they want to be competitive, but they're 3-6 and, well, not necessarily a ton of hope on the horizon. You need a guy who you can build your franchise around with Buxton, or at least a guy who can sit through this rebuild while a guy like Walker Jenkins or Emmanuel Rodriguez or these players that you build the new part of the franchise around. There's no reason that Byron Buxton can't stay through the transition and be one of those guys. He's a clubhouse leader. He's a top center fielder in all of baseball. He wants to be here, and the return you're going to get isn't going to be this massive haul. So why would you trade a guy for nothing just to get rid of him? I just don't understand that. Byron Buxton needs to be a Minnesota Twin for life. And any talk, the only way I would say he needs to be traded is if Byron Buxton demands out. Because really, I mean, go look at how much center fielders make. Go look at how much backup outfielders make. I mean, Harrison Bader is making more money than Byron Buxton this year. Byron Buxton took that incentive-laden contract that was just a perfect win-win. Both sides were super self-aware on that contract. And Byron Buxton took the guaranteed money with a ton of incentives, and the Twins gave it to him. And the Twins were like, this saves us money. And if you produce it the way you do, well, then we're probably going to be a good team and we'll make that money back. So, in theory, but it's a great self-aware deal for both sides. So I just don't understand the rush to trade Buxton. You're not going to get a player as back who's as good as him. It's going to be highly unlikely. And if that player does become Byron Buxton, I mean, it just doesn't happen. And you would win the trade, I guess, but it's just very unlikely that that happens. So the Twins, by the way, there's a quote from Byron Buxton. This is the other thing. If you watch the video of them honoring him, you can see Buxton getting emotional and talking about the roller coaster of his career, the way it started. And he said to be able to get to 10 years of service time is just a big deal. Here's the quote. This is from Dan Hayes of The Athletic. It says, to be able to have this jersey and to wear this jersey for those 10 years and counting, that probably means more to me than anything else. It's hard to put words. You'd think there'd be a lot more players to reach this number than what it is. This game is hard for a reason. It's hard to get to 10 years, stay healthy, play 162 games, whatever it is to do it. It's hard. The support system, your work ethic, your mentality, as long as it's strong and you got that support, you can get through anything. And again, Taylor Rogers talked about how a little over 24,000 guys have put on the uniform. Only 1,700 Major League Baseball players made it to 10 years, and let alone with one team. So Byron Buxton should get honored for that, and he should be a Twin for life. There is no reason why anybody should be in any rush to trade Byron Buxton. He would get a haul from a team. You could get some prospects, but you're not going to get a player as good as Buxton, and he's too valuable to this team in too many ways to ever let leave. As a leader on the field, as a face of the franchise, there's so much that Buxton is valuable for that you just can't let go out the door, and you're not going to get that return back. So we're going to talk about Kaelen Culpepper, one of those Twins prospects who continues his meteoric rise. And we're going to talk about why the Twins are going to have him called up sooner than my prediction at the beginning of the season. We'll talk about that and more after this. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes, well, it's a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, poof, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. And it's just a huge relief knowing that you can walk in, meet a real person, and walk out knowing your taxes are being handled right, and the fact that every dollar is important in where we're at right now. So to be able to get the best return you can, optimize that, I mean, it's just huge. And TurboTax does it right. So head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. That's TurboTax.com. Kaelen Culpepper should be with the Minnesota Twins by early May. That's where I stand on things. I've seen enough, and I guess I haven't seen anything of Brooks Lee to really say, okay, hold on, just give him a little bit more time. I think Brooks Lee has through the beginning of May really to decide if he's going to be this team's shortstop or not, because Kaelen Culpepper continues to rake over at AAA. Again, this is his first time at AAA, only 8 games in that level in his career, and they've all come this season. He's hit 3 home runs, has knocked in 8 RBIs, has drawn 3 walks, has struck out 7 times through the 8 games, so not awful in that. And it's a .294 batting average for Kaelen Culpepper, a .927 OPS, and has overall just been a good player for the team. And not only that, has flashed the leather. If you've follow the St. Paul Saints on Twitter, you see clips of him making some diving plays at shortstop. I know Twins Player Development is another account to follow on Twitter and places like that that post clips of prospects doing things throughout the minors. I think Kaelen Culpepper needs to be with this team sooner rather than later. You're not going to see it happen in April unless there's an injury. But as soon as May rolls around, yeah, Kaelen Culpepper needs to be up and playing with the Minnesota Twins, just because you need to do something to get some production out of your shortstop position. And yeah, I'm not saying that you need Kaelen Culpepper to come up and transform the team and he's going to hit exactly like he's doing now in the major leagues. There's going to be a drop off a little bit, But that being said, you're getting much more production out of him than you're getting out of Brooks Lee. And Tristan Gray's hot stretch may deter a move in the short term. It may prevent the Twins from doing something right away because, okay, well, Brooks Lee isn't produced, but at least we have Tristan Gray who's got the hot hand right now, and we're just going to ride his hot streak until he goes cold again. And, you kind of use that over the next couple weeks, and that basically gets you to almost May. So you see where things are at, and then you get to May. And look, if Tristan Gray is still hitting, you can always just start Tristan Gray and have Brooks Lee kind of platoon in his spot, or you can kind of flip-flop their roles or at least 50-50 them enough to where Kaelen Culpepper isn't needed. Because this is the thing. If you're going to call up Kaelen Culpepper, he has to come up and be the starter. You're not sending Tristan Gray down to call up Kaelen Culpepper, and then Brooks Lee takes 50-50 shortstop reps and at-bats. You want Kaelen Culpepper to develop in AAA and get as many at-bats as possible, as many reps at shortstop as possible. If you are going to call him up to the major leagues, it is going to be because he's going to get a ton of playing time. Because what's the point? What's the point of calling up Kaelen Culpepper if he's only going to get in one game a week? That's just not fair to him. It's not fair to the team. It's what you need to have him developing and getting a ton of at-bats, and he can do that in AAA. But again, if Tristan Gray, if he eventually cools off, let's say by next month, and if Brooks Lee continues to be where he's at production-wise, I don't know how you square the circle. Maybe there's an injury by then. Maybe Royce Lewis is hurt and you slide Brooks Lee to third base, or you slide Kaelen Culpepper to third base and you do it, or there's an injury to Lee, or there's an injury to Keyshaw and you can slide Buxton, or you can slide Brooks Lee, over to second base, or maybe there's a left field spot open and Keyshaw plays more left field and then Brooks Lee moves to second base, or something along those lines to get him in more. But Kaelen Culpepper needs to get up to the Twins. He's been hitting well. He has made a good impression early, and the Twins just, they don't have a ton of hope right now in Lee and Lewis. Those are guys who are hitting 8th and 9th in their lineup. And Kaelen Culpepper, again, I'm trying not to make too much out of these 2 weeks because, again, they are 2 weeks. And Kaelen Culpepper is a guy who, coming into this season, was an estimated time of arrival to the major leagues. Not even this season. He would have maybe gotten in on the tail end of this year, but is seen more as a 2027 guy. Now, his stock has continued to rise with a really good spring training, knocking up a ton of at-bats with a really good start to the season, hitting the ball well. And it goes with a 2025 where Kaelen Culpepper hit the ball really well in his first full season in the Minnesota Twins organization as a first-round pick in 2024 out of Kansas State. So he's a guy that's on a rise. It's continuing. I don't know how much he profiles long-term as shortstop. He might be a third baseman anyways. So I don't know who he plays for. I don't know how he comes up. But if you look at the Twins and you look at their prospect trajectories and times to the major leagues, we talked about it to begin the season, how I thought that Kaelen Culpepper was a guy that was probably going to make it towards the end of the season. We probably weren't going to see a call-up out of him. But that is until we looked at where the Twins are right now. Kaelen Culpepper has had a great start to his season, and meanwhile, Lee and Lewis haven't. And they haven't done anything to qualm or to quell those issues. And when you look at Emmanuel Rodriguez and Walker Jenkins and even Alan Roden to an extent, and Gabby Gonzalez, there's just so much of a logjam for the Twins in the outfield. They have a lot, again, and this goes back to roster construction, they have so many left-handed hitting corner outfielders, which is what Erod and Jenkins are, or would get playing time at, with Byron Buxton still being here. So where are they going to get playing time? There's so many different guys that they have to jump through. Walker Jenkins and Emmanuel Rodriguez have to look awesome, and they've had great starts to their seasons, and Erod has looked great as well. But Kaelen Culpepper has just the simple path to get up to the major leagues because the two guys in front of him as starters aren't playing well and their futures are in question. Tristan Gray has been good in the backup option, but how much is that going to last? And that's just one guy to get through to get to the major leagues. There's so much of an awkward logjam in the outfield, and that just doesn't exist for the Twins on the left side of the infield. Kaelen Culpepper has a very clear path to getting up, and it is going to happen sooner rather than later. All right, well, thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Locked On Twins. Tomorrow, we get the latest from the Twins game today as they open up that series in 4 games against the Detroit Tigers. We look at the Twins' first base defense and how it's going to be the worst in baseball this season. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Twins so you get all the latest episodes. You can find me on X at BombCJ30. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Twins ad-free plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedontwins.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio for your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB. I'm CJ Baumgartner. See ya.